Welcome to DeFi Crypto Today. Our topic today is BYOB, be your own bank. Yes, I'm going to show you how you can become your own bank and ditch your old trad bank. There's a lot of very interesting strategies that can be used with crypto, and they can be very, very, very risky and can be very, very dangerous, and you can get liquidated. You could lose all your investment. So don't go nuts. Okay? Stay within the safest margins, okay, to protect your capital and not lose it. A lot of people get very excited and they say, oh my God, I'm going to go to the max here and I'm going to conquer the world and all that. And the price of their collateral drops a bit and they get liquidated and they lose it all. So we're going to show you some strategies today, and we're going to stay within the safe margins. Okay, and you're going to see how you can become your own bank and how wealthy people get more and more wealthy. You know, we hear that all the time in the news, especially now, okay, because in America there's a Democrat government. I'm not political, okay? Democrats do good things, Republicans do good things, and they do bad things on both sides, and you know, they're politicians, okay? If they open their mouth, they're lying. But sometimes they have good ideas or good policies, and sometimes they're terrible. So right now there's a big push for let's tax the rich. Sure, like they're going to be able to tax the likes of you know, Warren Buffett and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and so on, they're trying to sell you on the idea that they're going to tax those guys. Yeah, right. They're going to tax you, not those guys. Okay, it's always like that. So don't always believe the rhetoric. Okay. So and try to live well, and I'll show you how you can become wealthy. Okay, without hurting anybody, without stealing anything, and how to keep most of it and not give most of it to the tax people legally. So I just did a video about tax planning. The link is below. It's worth a look. There's some very interesting stuff in there that can show you how to earn huge income and potentially not have to pay taxes for a long time on it. All right, so watch the video. Anyway, so let's talk about how we can become our own bank. And to start with, I'm going to use an analogy because it's similar in some respects. It's different also, but there's a lot of similarities with real estate. So let's have a look at a couple of examples from the real estate world. So most people, you know, let's say they have $100,000 and they decide to buy a house, okay, and they say, oh wow, I got 100,000, I got myself one house. So your total asset value is 100,000 at the moment, okay? Now, if you go to the bank and you got good credit, you could use that same 100,000 and potentially buy up to 5 properties, okay, that are rental properties. They have to earn income. They're not going to give it to you just because you have a pretty smile. They're going to give you these loans if you have very good credit and if you have tenants in each property, or that you could easily get tenants in each property. And you want the earnings that you're getting from your tenants to be able to pay the loan. So you don't need to give more of your own cash in there, okay? So why is this interesting? Let's assume that this property here, you didn't want to live in it, you just wanted to rent it out. Okay? So it becomes an income producing asset, a yield bearing asset. Okay, we're going to talk about yield bearing assets today. There are tokens that are yield bearing assets, like the wmEMO token, like the wrapped staked OHM token, and many other tokens, but we're going to focus just on a couple. So you have right now only one income producing property. You also have potential not just of getting income from that rental, but the value of the property itself is likely to go up. Okay, because over time real estate tends to go up in value if you maintain the property, of course, and it's clean and you repaint from time to time. You make sure that the plumbing works and all that jazz. Okay, so there's a lot of extra things to do with real estate. You'll see that with crypto it's a lot simpler. Okay, and personally I think you can get very wealthy a lot faster with crypto than with real estate. Real estate used to be one of the best ways to become wealthy. And now crypto is, I think, going to be number one very soon for a lot of people. All right. So right now you have portfolio one. This is one strategy. A lot of people use this strategy. Okay. They don't want no stinking loan from no stinking bank. They buy a real estate property, they put a tenant in it, and they get some income, and they get, when they resell, they hopefully resell for a higher price, and they get a capital gain, and so on, and they're happy with that. There's nothing wrong with this strategy. It's a perfectly acceptable strategy. Most people, if they want to become very wealthy, they use this strategy. They use the same investment, but they use leverage. Leverage is when you borrow to multiply the income. So here, instead of getting only one house, we're getting 5 houses that are giving us rental income. So we have 5 times the rental income. And not only that, but assuming they're all very good properties and good locations and so on, all those properties are going to appreciate in value as well as this one would. So there's a potential capital gain here for each of those properties. And here's the best part, that let's say after a year or two, each of those properties go up in value, where you could borrow on the new value. You could go back to the bank. Okay, let's say you get an appraiser to appraise your properties after a couple of years or something, because you know that the market went up a lot, everybody's looking for properties, and the market's really good, right? So you pay an appraiser says, oh yeah, now you have a lot more value now. Okay, each property was 100,000, now let's say they gain each 50,000 each. So now you have an extra $250,000 of capital locked in those properties here. Well, you can go to the bank, show the appraiser's report, and or the bank is going to pay its own appraiser or whatever, and they're probably going to say, if everything went well and you paid your mortgage on time and everything was good and you have tenants in every property, they're probably going to allow you to borrow on your extra $250,000. So you might be able to buy to borrow that cash and use it to buy extra properties. So gradually you're going to be able to buy more and more and more and more and more and more and more properties. You just have to repeat that cycle over and over. At some point you might start with 5 properties like this. 10 years later, maybe you've got 50 properties or more, whatever, if you play your cards right. So I want you to keep this kind of strategy in mind, and we're going to apply it to crypto. Okay, I'll show you another similar concept. Okay, that's again with real estate. They say buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So the BRRR principle. So in our case, if we apply this to crypto, we buy crypto, we're buying yield-bearing assets like the Wonderland Memo or the OlympuDAO OHM, staked OHM. Okay, so instead of rehabbing, what we're doing is we're having these rebases, okay, which make them a lot more attractive, okay, which is our rent money, basically. So these two R's are pretty much become a single R, so it's just BRRR, not BRRR with crypto, but it still works. And you can refinance that. I'm going to show you how to do that today. And then we repeat, okay, because we get more values, and if we get more value, we can refinance again, and so on and so on and so on and so on. Okay. So let's see how we can do this. There are several markets where we can do this kind of stuff. So Abracadabra is one of the best places. Okay, the interface is very comprehensive and explains a lot of stuff, and it automates several functions. Okay, we're going to explore this in detail today. I just want to show you briefly 3 other markets that exist. There are several, okay, but we're going to stick to the Avalanche network for the sake of simplicity. And so you have a lending market on TraderJoe. If you can see the cute little logo there. So this is TraderJoe, and TraderJoe allows you to deposit these assets and borrow against them. Now currently, when you deposit, you have your deposit APY plus a reward APR. Okay, so you're getting 7.69% here plus 5.96% on top. So you're pretty close to 14% almost here. Okay, on your AVAX tokens if you just deposit them and do nothing else. Now, you could use this as collateral and borrow against it. Okay, and borrow any of these assets using this as a collateral. So you can earn like 14% here total. And then if you look at this here, in some cases they pay you to borrow. So if you look at this one, for instance, you could borrow some wrapped Ethereum, and basically they're paying you more rewards than you have to pay out in borrowing APY. So, you know, they're paying you to borrow in this case. So you're getting a free lunch. You're getting a free loan. And you can use this to buy anything. The risk here is that the value of Ethereum could go up a lot, and that could trigger a liquidation. So if the value, when you deposit, let's say AVAX, you can borrow a certain percentage against it. Typically it's around 60%. So if the value of your loan here goes over 60%, that triggers a liquidation. So they pay off the loan plus the interest out of your collateral, and on top of that they charge you a penalty. So there's a penalty fee, and if there's anything left, that's what you have left in your wallet. So typically it's not a good situation to get liquidated. You might not like that. Although for tax purposes, that's a taxable event, and you might be able to deduct that against your taxes. So there's always a rosy side to everything. I'm talking a lot about taxes. I just made a tax video. Watch it. There's some very good strategies there to save on taxes with your crypto. All right, let's go on with this. So basically what you can do here, these money markets, this is a money market. If you don't know what it is, it's called a money market. Money market allows you to deposit and borrow, and you can choose which interest you want to earn or pay, right? So you can basically make your money work for you. You deposit at a very high interest, in this case up to 14% on this asset, and you can actually borrow for less than zero. So it means that you're earning interest on your loan, which is a little bit strange to a lot of people, but in the crypto world it's pretty normal. You're going to see that on several money markets if you look at the numbers carefully. Like this one, for instance. You're earning 13% on your loan, and while you pay out only 9%. Now, be careful if, like I said, the Ethereum is pretty risky to borrow again because its value goes up and down. Okay, so you could deposit if you don't want to have to worry about price fluctuations. You have two choices. You can deposit Ethereum and borrow Ethereum, so the price will match, right, on both sides. On the deposit and on the borrowing side, they'll match. So you're not going to be liquidated because one side went up too much, right? However, the interest rate on the deposits are not as spectacular as AVAX. That's another consideration, okay? You decide what you want to do, okay? If you want more income, low risk, okay, then you get the income here, and you choose a low risk. You could borrow USDC, USDT, or DAI, which are, and MIM, which are stable coins. So these will not go up in value. Their market value always stays around $1. So that reduces your risk. You might have to pay more interest though. All right, so that explains several possible strategies you can do with this. Now you have the same kind of strategies you can get on AAVE. Now what's interesting is that I'm showing you these different money markets because you can figure out that, oh, on one I can deposit and earn, like for instance, if you deposit USDT, you could earn 7.18% APY plus 10.45% APR. That's pretty juicy, 17% roughly. Now, on AVAX here, you get 3.92 plus 12.8, and then you can compare that to what you get here. So here total, that's about 13-14%, and here you get a bit more than that. You get almost 16-17% here. So you could earn more here on this, and you could borrow against it, and you know, on the stable coins, the borrowing rates are pretty cool also. See, on this one, if you borrow DAI against your Avalanche, you pay out 4%, but you earn back 2.39%. So effectively, you're only paying 2% on your loan, while you're earning close to 16% on your deposit. That's pretty cool for a very easy to do strategy. Now, what you can do with your loan, you could buy more Avalanche, redeposit it, and earn 14% on it again. In the new deposit, you can collateralize it and borrow against that again and redeposit that. So we call this looping. Okay, we're going to see loops today. Okay, now these loops on TraderJoe, Avalanche, and also Benki. Can do similar strategy on Benki. You have to perform the loops manually, and you pay gas each time. So there's a lot of buttons to press and confirm and confirm and confirm on your MetaMask. Each time you confirm, you pay some gas, which is a bit inefficient, but it's the traditional way that DeFi has been doing. Now, Abracadabra, the innovation is that the looping is done automatically. You can perform up to 10 loops with a single click and a single gas fee, which I think is fantastic, because I like to save on gas, because I'm cheap. All right, so I'm not going to go too much through this. It's very similar on Banky. So you've got Banky, you got AAVE, you got TraderJoe, very, very similar systems. But what's cool about it is that you can shop around and see different rates for similar assets. Okay, so you might say, oh wow, I should deposit my AVAX on this one, well I should deposit my Bitcoin on that one because I'm getting better rates and so on, and I would borrow DAI on this one or borrow USDC on this one, or whatever you want. Okay, so shop around. You can earn extra money this way. So that's one way of being your own bank. Okay, with some very, very easy strategies. Now, I explained that very clearly in tons of detail in the free book that's down below. Okay, so you can download. And I'm using AAVE on the Polygon network here, but the Avalanche network on AAVE works exactly the same, and you can use the exact same strategy on Banky and on TraderJoe. So in the book, I show you how to triple your capital. So you start with, let's say, I don't know, $1,000 working for you, and at the end you have $3,000 working for you and earning you interest with very low risk, as long as you follow the guidelines and you don't go too close to the liquidation. All right, so check it out, it's free. And it explains, okay, for beginners and advanced people, like every single step. So if you know some stuff, just skip them and go to the juicy part. But for beginners, I show how to install MetaMask, how to get tokens, and everything. Okay, very, very, very easy. All right, so let's go to something a little bit more advanced, because we're degens. For those that don't know, degens is the DeFi term for degenerates. So we're degenerates. Okay, so let's go to Abracadabra. I'm gonna make some magic internet money. That's what MEM stands for. Okay, let's talk about what you can find on Abracadabra in detail, and we're going to perform a transaction on this today. I would have liked to do it on wmEMO. Yesterday they issued some cash, but well, maybe we can. But it was gone just an hour ago now. There seems to be a little bit more left. Maybe people repaid their MIMs. Okay, but anyway, we'll see. If not, we'll do it on the with AVAX. Okay. So I'll show you what you can do, and also how you can, why you should do it, because it's going to help you make more money, number one. Number two, reduce your taxes. Who doesn't like to reduce their taxes? Let's recap a little bit what the wmEMO is. We can also do wrapped staked OHM on the Ethereum network. The Ethereum network has very high gas fees. So don't do that if you have only a small investment of like $500 in wrapped staked OHM. You're going to get wrecked. Okay, it's going to cost you more in gas than your entire investment. So don't do that. Okay. On the other hand, if you have a very large portfolio and you've got, I don't know, $100,000 of wrapped staked, okay, yeah, that would be profitable, because your gas fees are going to be probably less than 1% of your entire portfolio. But you don't want to pay like gas fees that are worth more than your portfolio. That's insane, right? So that's why we're going to stick to Avalanche. There are other networks, but there's literally nothing on the BSC right now. On Phantom, there's nothing that earns income, as far as I can tell. And same thing on Arbitrum. Ethereum has the most. It has several yield-bearing assets, but this is for bigger portfolios. My portfolio is too small for this, so we're not going to do that today. All right, so let's have a look. So we have two choices currently on Avalanche. I'm hoping they're going to add more soon. There is a wrap staked OHM available now. It's new on Avalanche. Watch the video. I explain what it's about. I put the link below. And it works pretty much like the wMEMO. So what's the difference between Time Memo and wMEMO? Time is the basic token from Wonderland that we all know and love. When we stake it on the Wonderland website, it becomes Memo. A memo is a stake time. Stake time accrues interest. So you get every 8 hours, they give you a reward in the form of more Memo tokens, and they added your balance of Memo tokens that appear on the Wonderland website. For those that forget, let's go to Wonderland. Where is it? This one. They have the new black background color now. Used to be blue. Anyway, so right now I have a little bit of time sitting in my wallet. I didn't stake it yet. I have stake time that turns into Memo. Memo is stake time. This is the next reward amount. I'm going to be paid this much Memo in 2 hours and 50 minutes. This is the current interest rate or reward yield for this period, this 8-hour period. And this means for after 5 days you would get a total of about 9 point something percent on your Memo investment here. All right, so just to recap for those that are confused about what I'm talking about. Okay, but watch this. I've got several Wonderland videos explain everything in detail, so I'm not going too much in detail here. So let's go back to this. So we know what we're talking about. So we know about the Memo and we know about the time tokens, but now this is a wMEMO. wMEMO means wMEMO. You have to be very clear on the difference between a Memo token and a wMEMO token. Memo token is the one that's sitting on the Wonderland website. And every 8 hours, you're going to get extra Memo tokens added to your balance of Memo tokens on the Wonderland website. You're going to see them also on your wallet if you added the Memo token on your MetaMask wallet. So it keeps adding more and more Memo tokens like that every 8 hours. The wMEMO token is we take those memos, put them in a little box, put wrapping paper on it and a bowl, and you have one box. That box is always one box. However, what's inside the box keeps growing. So inside the box, inside the wrapping, okay, your Memo tokens keep accumulating in value. Okay? So the total value of your wMEMO keeps growing every 8 hours because you keep getting more rebases inside, more rewards inside. But you still have the same number of wMEMO tokens. So if you bought one wMEMO token, it's never going to change and become 1.2 or 2.5 Memo tokens. It stays the same unless you buy an extra wMEMO. All right? You have to be very clear on that. Its value grows, but not its number. A lot of people get confused about that. I explained that in the tax video also. And so, and then if you unwrap it, then you get a big bunch of Memo tokens. Okay, so if you let it wrap for a long time, and it's got a lot of rebases, okay, maybe you get 10 new Memo tokens after a while, after several months or something like that. Okay, all right, so that's the wrapping. Now here's the thing about how to become wealthy with this thing. Okay, I talk about it in the tax video. This is probably not taxable in most jurisdictions because it's not considered income when it's wrapped. It's like having a house. We talked about real estate earlier. So you have this house and it gains value over time. Okay, it's a capital gain. It's an unrealized capital gain. At the time you sell it, then you would have to probably pay tax on it. But until you sell it, you have no tax to pay on this. There's no taxable event. Your regular Memo that's not wrapped, that's staked on the Wonderland website and gathers extra tokens, those extra tokens are income. You have to pay tax on that. All right, you see the difference? So, very important. Wrap Memo tokens, you can wrap your memos here. Let's go and look at this. So, for instance, in order to deposit memos here, you have to wrap them first. So you go to wrap, and right now it says balance, I have this much. This is what I have on my MetaMask, and it's the same value that's on my Wonderland account. On the Wonderland website, it's the same value that we see. And here it knows because it's connected to my wallet. If I wrap it, you're going to see that it's going to disappear from my wallet, and it's going to disappear from the Wonderland website. So let's say we do that. And you notice that the number of memos is different from the number of wrap memos. The wrap memo is worth a lot more. If you look over here, one memo is worth 7,841 USD. Okay, one mem is 1 USD, and a wrap memo is worth 84,173 mims. So it's $84,000 for one wrap memo. Remember that. So that's why the number here is a lot smaller than this number. I'm not sure how they calculate the wrap memo value, to be honest. I looked it up, I can't find it yet. If I find it, I'll let you know. I'll make another video about this. So just for fun, I'm going to show you how to wrap it. So you select how much you want, you wrap, you confirm in here. All right, so now we have the wrap memo. If we hit max, it will appear here. So this is how much wrap memo I have right now. Now in theory, if there are any MIMs available at the moment, some suddenly appeared earlier today, but they might be gone by now. So let's check, okay? I'll show you how to borrow and also how to loop. Those are two different operations, but they can be performed together, okay? All right, so this is our wrap memo. Now, as you know, these buttons are grayed out here. 50%, 70%, and 90% are grayed out. Why? The price of the time token is extremely volatile. You could easily get liquidated if you were to borrow 70 or 90% or even 50%, because it's very commonplace to have fluctuations of over 50% in just a matter of hours. Okay? Currently, the price of the memo is 7,800. Well, it could be dropped down to 3,000 in an hour. This happens all the time. Why? Because there's a lot of people doing what we're doing here, and they are borrowing too much. They go on Rary or other things, and they just borrow too much. Okay, so we're not going to go and borrow 25%. You see, this is high risk, very high risk. It's a very high chance I'm going to lose all this money. Okay, if it says high. Okay, so instead of hitting 25%, which is the maximum allowed, we're going to go a lot lower. Okay, what I would do personally is probably 10%. It's still considered safe. You can go up to 15% and be in what Abracadabra considers the safe region, okay, the safe area. All right, and I would be able to borrow at 15%, $1,679 MIM, which is $1,679. Okay, so. But personally, I would never like to go a lot more than 10%. I just want to be able to sleep at night, like I say in so many of my videos. Okay, I like to perform investments that work on their own, that earn me money, without me having to worry about it. And 10% for me personally, that's just enough risk for me to allow me to sleep. Now, I'm not going to actually perform it because right now I don't have investments that I want to make with this, okay? And I'm not even sure if I can borrow it or not right now. I don't even know if there's enough Memo available. But all you would have to do is hit add collateral and borrow, and the two operations are done simultaneously, and you just pay gas once for this, okay? So it's very efficient in terms of gas fees and so on. Now, this is a very simple, easy, and relatively safe strategy if you stay in the safe zone. You can take the money that you borrowed here, you can reinvest it in something else, you can take it out of the crypto world, okay, and buy fiat currency like US dollars or euros or whatever you want. And depending on the size of your portfolio, of course, I cannot do a lot with $1,000, but I don't know, let's say I wanted to buy myself a new computer or whatever, okay, I could do that with this, all right? Or I could invest this in other crypto, okay? Let's say I have Memo, but I don't have OHM, or I don't have Klima, and I find that those are very attractive projects. I could take this money, okay, and buy Klima with it, or OHM with it. That's quite acceptable. Or right now, I think that Bitcoin is going to go to the moon. I can buy Bitcoin with this. So you see how you can apply the real estate principle, okay? You have one asset that's earning you yield, okay, the wmEMO, and you can invest this money because this is kind of a bank, okay, and invest it into another project, like Klima, for instance. It's giving you 31,000% right now, because it works in a very similar way to Wonderland, or OHM, which is giving about 8,500%, something like that at the moment. Okay, those are three super exciting projects that give a lot of yield and for reasonable risk, depending on your risk appetite. All right. Now, some people say, no, I just want more wmEMOs. We can do that too. Right here, this button here, it's called change leverage. You always get this warning message, and you should pay attention. You should read the documentation. I'll explain what's important about it. All right. The first thing you can do here is you can do looping. Remember what I said about looping is you have your asset that you put in as a collateral, you borrow against it, and with this cash, you buy more of this asset. And then you have more collateral, and you can borrow against it again, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. So each time you do this, it's a loop. And here you can choose how many loops you want. You can go up to 10 loops. You don't really need to do 10 loops, unless you have a very large collateral. Right now we have a very small collateral. Here, if you look here, currently because we're at 1x, it's like not looping. So I can borrow 119 MIMs. So if we go to 2, what happens? There's about 100 something that got added. So I have about 1,000 something plus 100, okay? Because I'm at 10%. So 10% of 119, that's, 112 roughly. Of 1,119, that's 112. So it added 112 to this, approximately. If I go to the third loop, well, now you get added 10% of 112, which is approximately $11. Okay, and if you went to the fourth loop, well, you're just adding $1. And now the system says, well, it's getting risky, the color changed now. So what's the point? Okay, for just adding $1. It's not really useful. You don't really need to perform all these loops here. So of course, if I had $1 million portfolio, I might be able to go all the way to 10 or whatever. But right now, it's not worth the trouble. So what is important here? Notice that your APY is going up. If we go down here, we have the current APY, it says 66,000%, which is what we have here on the Wonderland website. Right? Now, look at what happens to this number right here. If I loop number 2, it went up. Now I'm earning 73,000%. And if I loop again, well, it's still 73,000, but a tiny bit more. You see the advantage? You're getting about 6,000% more APY. So if you want your capital here to grow faster, that's one way to do it. Do you really need to do a lot of loops? No, because look at this value here. Even if I did 5 loops or 6 loops, the number hardly changes. The biggest change is at 2 loops. Okay, you get a tiny bit more at 3 loops, but 2 loops, pretty good already. All right. So your expected leverage basically is 1.1x. It's not a huge leverage, but because the interest rate is so insanely high, okay, it does make a significant difference. So your the value of your wrapped memo is going to accelerate in growth. Its growth is going to accelerate. Now you have an expected liquidation price of 27,000 something. So you, if you look at one wrap memo, right now, let's make it bigger. My poor old eyes. All right, so it's 84,730 for one wrap memo, right? Now my expected, where is it? Liquidation price is 27,000. So it would have to drop all the way from 84,000 to 27,000 for me to get liquidated. The odds of this happening are reasonably low. It's unlikely, it's not impossible, but it's unlikely to happen, unless, I don't know, the end of the world happens tomorrow, okay? Something really insane would have to happen for this. I mean, even if Bitcoin dropped 50%, I don't think the Memo token is going to drop a lot more than 50% also. So my chance of getting wrecked and liquidated here are reasonably low. Now, here's something you need to understand very carefully. So I'm going to reduce it a bit. Now, if you don't do any looping, okay, and you cancel this, and you're just borrowing money out of your collateral here, if you get liquidated, they're only going to pay back the MIM that you borrow, plus a liquidation fee and interest, and that's about it. Now, if you loop, in the documentation they talk about this. You are about to open a leverage position, they call it. Here it's not a leverage position. Here it's a leverage position. And if you read the docs, let's see if I can show it to you. Alright, leveraged. They explain the process and they've got a pretty picture and all that stuff. Let me find the liquidation. Okay. This is the super duper important part here, this line here. We're going to make it bigger so everybody can see. This is extremely important, so remember this. Different from what happens to unleveraged position. Remember, the unleveraged position, you just borrow MIMs against your collateral. That's it, you don't loop. If the leverage position gets liquidated, users will not have any asset in their possession. Loser, lose all. Okay? So, you lose the whole thing. So, very dangerous if you get liquidated. So, think about it twice. There's a way around it. It's not the end of the world. The advantage of using it is that the looping is performed automatically. So if you have a large portfolio, several $1 million, and you want to perform many loops, you don't have to hit a ton of buttons to get it done. You don't have to perform each operation manually. You don't have to borrow MIMs, swap MIMs for Memo, wrap them, deposit them as collateral, borrow again, and buy memos, wrap them, and deposit over and over and over and over and over. It's all done in one shot. Press the button once. That's it. Your risk is if you get liquidated, you're you're done. They take it all. I'm not sure why it's like that, but that's the way it is. So you lose 100% if you're liquidated. On the leverage position. On leverage, you lose what you borrowed, a penalty fee, and the interest. But you still have something left. So very, 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 very important. You know, don't forget this line right there. Very important, okay? You don't want to forget this. All right. So now that we saw the warning message, let's recap. Now you have a lot of information on the right side here, okay? So right now I did not deposit yet. This is my wrap memo before it's deposited. After I hit that button, it's done. But right now, let's say we don't want to change leverage because I don't want to risk losing it all if the price drops. So, if I wanted to perform this operation, this is the unleveraged strategy. I could borrow $119 worth of MIMs right now. So if I hit that button, the collateral here is going to appear here. The value of the collateral is going to appear here. The APY of my position right now is 66,583%. It's the same as what's on the Wonderland. So I'm not losing this. I'm still earning my rebase, but it's inside the wrap. Remember the little box with the wrapping paper and the bow on top? Okay, the rebases, the rewards get paid inside the box, not outside the box. So the collateral deposited stays the same. It's not growing in number. There's not more and more tokens. It's the same number of tokens. 0.17354 whatever token. This will not change. The collateral value can change depending on the price of the time token. Time token goes up, my collateral value goes up. Time goes down, my collateral value goes down. If my collateral goes down too much, then I get liquidated. The APY, and here it shows, like, let's say right now I want to borrow 119 MIMs, then that's going to be here. Then you're going to see my wmEMO liquidation price. Currently this is the value, and we saw earlier that basically it's going to be about 10% of that, my liquidation price. And then the Memo liquidation price. So that's how you know, okay? If you look at the price of time and you see, oh, time is going down, and you have a position here, and you want to say, oh, am I getting close to the liquidation or not? Well, you can check the price of time, and you can check it against this. So if this says, let's say $2,000, and currently time is at, I don't know, 5, 6, 7,000, and you know that you're above the liquidation price. If this value is 2,000 and it's getting close to 2,000, you have two choices. You can repay, so you can put more MIMs back, but let the position stay, or you can just take your collateral out and repay. You don't have to just repay everything. You know, you can take your position out and repay the loan, or you can just repay the loan and leave your collateral in and borrow less or whatever. All right, so you have different choices. Now, it's very important to understand the strategy here. Think of this as a little house. So your little box of wmEMOs is like a little house, and it's earning income and it's gaining in value. So if you leave your wmEMO in here for a long time, it's going to accrue in value quite a bit. At the current rate that we're getting here, the 6,000%, you're getting close to 70% extra value per month. So technically that means that every month you could borrow 70%. You could borrow 10% of that new value if we're staying at 10%. So every month you could borrow a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. This is very interesting for tax purposes. That's tax-free. It's not income, it's borrowing. So you could live off, if you had enough. Right now there's not enough for me to live on $1,000 a month. Okay, let's say I would invest a lot more in wmEMOs. So let's say I would put a lot more money in here. Technically, I would be able to borrow more every month because the rebases are added to the value of my wmEMO every 8 hours. So every month I could take myself a salary out of this, and I could take enough to pay for all my expenses with this. I could live off my wmEMO. And it's not taxable because I'm borrowing against an asset that accrues in value. I'm not borrowing. The borrowing is not a taxable event. I explained that in the tax video below. Okay? If you go to the bank and you have a house and you borrow against it, the government is not going to tax you against the money that you got out of the equity of your house through the loan. No. On the other hand, another tax advantage is that you have to pay an interest on this. The interest is 5.5%. There's also a borrowing fee of 1% on the value that you borrow. Those are tax deductible. Similarly, if you get liquidated, the 12.5% here, that's tax deductible as well. So these are interesting things to think about. And that's how wealthy people get more and more wealthy. They use these principles. They know this. They don't need taxable income in order to live. They could borrow forever if they have assets that generate value like this, like property. If they have income properties and they keep increasing in value, they could keep on borrowing against the value of that, and the earnings that are generated through rent would pay off the loan anyway. In our case, the loan is not paid automatically, but you don't really have a fixed term, and you're not bound to pay X amount per month. Okay, you don't have to ever pay this back. Okay, as long as you don't get liquidated, you don't have to pay this back. So these are very interesting strategies you can take with wMEMO, and you can also do that with wstOHM right now. There are other yield-bearing assets, but most of them are on Ethereum, and I don't like to play on Ethereum because of the gas fees. So unless you have a very large portfolio, I don't think it's a good idea for you to play too much on Ethereum. So the easiest one and the cheapest one in terms of gas is wMEMO. If you have a very large portfolio, go on Ethereum, but if you have a smallish portfolio like mine, use this instead. That's about it. I hope it gives you ideas on how to build wealth and how to manage your taxes, plan your tax and your fiscal affairs, so that you don't need to pay tax for nothing. Also, you don't need to sell your wMEMO ever, unless things change. And I don't know, something goes bad with Wonderland. I don't know, you know, what would go bad right now. I mean, somebody could hack into the system, but it's supposed to be a DAO, so people vote for, you know, the token holders vote for changes and stuff like that. So I don't expect anything spectacularly bad to happen to Wonderland, OHM, or Clima. Clima we can't use yet for this. They don't have a wrapped token. But for OHM and Wonderland, I don't think so. Okay. So, because a lot of people, for some reason, I don't know what they think, but they want to sell their memos. Why do you want to incur taxes if you don't need to? I mean, there's no fixed term on this, okay? You could leave this in the protocol earning rebases forever, as long as they want to pay you rebases. I don't know how long that's going to last, but while it's lasting, you don't need to sell, and you don't need to pay. If you want cash, you can take cash out here on a loan you have to pay only 5.5% while you're earning 66,000%. It's not a free loan, but it's pretty darn close. You probably earn more every week on rebases, or the value of the rebases that are added to the wrapped token, than the entire loan. Think about that. Do the math. After 1 week, you earn more in here than this. Not too bad. All right. So that's it for the video. If you have questions about this, you can put them in the comments. I read all the comments. If you have good questions, I answer them. Okay. And if it's spam, I delete. And if it's stupid, I delete it also. I manage the comments myself every day. Now, you think about this. Check with your tax advisors before you do anything crazy. Okay, check with your accountant to make sure that the tax treatment in your country applies the way I suggested that it might. Okay, I'm not a tax advisor. I'm not a certified anything in any way, shape, or form. Okay, those are just ideas and suggestions and strategies, and you do whatever the hell you want. I'm not making money out of showing you this. All right, so if you like this kind of stuff, please like and subscribe. We want the algorithm at YouTube to know that my channel exists, right? Please hit the bell to know when I'm publishing a new video. Download the free book that explains a lot of strategies that are very similar to what I'm talking about today. And if you don't want it for free, give $5.99 to Jeff Bezos and Jeff will give me $1 later. See you.